What's up guys, Lifting here. In this video I'm going to show you a full Uber Lab run and how I approach the whole Uber Lab farming thing so I can make the most currency out of it and so that I can do it most efficiently. There's a few things you want to do if you're interested in doing lab farming specifically. It's not important if you just want to go in and get your ascendancy point, but if you want to farm it for profit, there's a few things I recommend you do first. So the first thing is that, similar to mapping, if you want to be efficient, a really good idea is to have a dump tab, so that when you have looted the stuff in the lab, instead of going out and IDing it and getting distracted and wondering what everything is worth and all that stuff, it's better to simply throw it into a dump tab. Once you're done with the labbing for that day, or if you're taking a break or something like that, then you can price it and then you can set it up. It just makes it so much more efficient. Otherwise, you end up getting distracted all the time. Another thing is that when you're doing the lab, if you have done this for a while, you'll have a lot of stuff that's for sale and people will be contacting you. An example of that is this guy here who wanted to buy my Fate Halo circlet for 8 chaos. And unless you're using Poe.Trade, which is what I'm doing here, and that's kind of my point, I want to recommend that you guys do that too. Because when you're in the lab and people are then asking to buy these things, obviously you can't just go out of the Labyrinth straight away, because that will waste your offering to the goddess. So with Poe.Trade, it will queue up your trades. And you will then, once you get out of the lab, you'll be able to remember these things. You'll be able to contact the interested parts afterwards, and you can then do the trade without forgetting anything. And in Poe.Trade, you can also set up some auto replies. But for me, I prefer using the LotBot for the auto replies or quick replies. And I'm going to show you how I've set that up. So this is a LotBot. It's also the thing that allows you to log out if you want to panic log out and things like that. The important thing that I use a lot here is the invites. I have that on F3, so it's fast. I have F4 to kick that person when the trade is done. I can press F2 and then we'll do a who is, and I can show you how that works here. I'm pressing F2 here, and you can see Senstar is the last person who whispered me. Similar to if someone wanted to trade you, then it would be the last person who contacts you. That once you press F2, it will give you the information there. However, the most important aspect for me in this regard is the whisper hotkeys here. So these are simply text messages that will get sent back to the person who just wrote to you. So if somebody just said, "Hey dude, I want to buy your Fade circlet something," then you, or in my case, I have Control-1 to say, "1 moment please," or Control-2, "Sorry, just sold," if it just sold, right? But the most important message I have for labbing is my Control-3 that says, "I'm in the lab, but let me know if you can wait and want to trade after. If so, I will invite you then," because there is a lot of people who are browsing through all the items, of course, and they are not always interested in waiting for you to finish the lab. However, by letting them know you are in the lab, they're not expecting you to come out, and it's then up to them to let you know if they want to trade. So they will whisper you back typically and say, "Hey, that's okay, I want to wait." And then I hit Control-4 that says, "Sounds good, I'll hit you up in a moment." And I cannot tell you how valuable these hotkeys are, guys, because when you're in the lab and people are whispering you, and you'll get a lot of whispers because you have a lot of valuable stuff, it's just so frustrating having to stop up all the time, write out new messages. It slows you down, it makes it more dangerous in there because you're not paying attention to what's going on with the traps and so forth. And it just makes it so much smoother. I highly recommend you set this up, but you can also set it up in Poe.Trade if you want to. So the next thing you want to do is, of course, have your offering to the goddess, and the prices on offerings can vary quite a lot. Or let's see what they're going for right now in Abyss Hardcore. They're going for like 5 or 6 chaos. It's pretty expensive, but it's also a really good day to do Uber Lab farming because of the layout. But I'd say that if you can at least get 5 keys in the lab, if you expect to get 5 keys that day, and I'm going to talk a little more about that, then 5 chaos for the offering is okay. As long as you can get 5 keys, it's typically worth it. It all depends on the enchant you get. And on that note, take a helmet with you into the lab. And it shouldn't just be any random helmets. What I think is the current best helmet to use is the Royal Burgonet helmet. And that is based on the statistics of what type of builds people are playing right now. And right now we have a meta where there is a lot of armor helmets being used together with life on them. It's not as simple as it was a couple of leagues ago when everybody was using hubris circlets because energy shield was so overpowered. However, there does seem to be like a majority when you look at the statistics of what people are playing, and I can link you to that below in the description, where you will see the type of builds that they're using are typically builds that use some kind of armor defense and then scale life. You can also do it a little more specifically and pick up like a Starconia's head, or you can put it on the energy shield bases like the hubris circlets, because while it's not as meta as it once was, there's still lots of people who use energy shield or hybrids. And if you're then one of the fewer people who have this for sale on the market, well, then you'll have less competition and they will be buying from you, meaning you can increase the price. However, for me, I like the a little more reliable approach for enchanting, and so because of that, a Royal Burgonet, and it needs to be item level 84 plus, and that's because at 84 plus, if somebody buys the helmet, he will want to craft it, and at item level 84 plus, he can get the good rolls, the good affix rolls. And in regards to enchants, a lot of people also use the strategy of taking or buying the prophecy, the twice enchanted prophecy, which allows you to use, or well, to enchant twice. I guess that was pretty self-explanatory. And in many cases, if you can afford the investment for the twice enchanted, it will in many cases pay off, because if you hit those jackpot enchants, those are the ones that really sells. You can sell items easily for 3, 4, 5, 6 exalts if you get the right enchant on the right base type. So it will pay itself in fairly quick. Today I'm not doing it because the twice enchanted are currently going for 6 chaos, and I think that's too expensive. I don't want to pay that for it. I would consider paying 5, but typically you will see them for 4 and sometimes 5. It kind of depends on how good the Uber lab layout is that day. The better the lab layout, the more people doing it, and the higher the price. And so the next thing you want to do to get into the lab is that you want to know the layout for the lab today, and you want to know what you're going up against. Sometimes the layout of the lab is simply not worth doing that day, or Isaro is too tough, or there's just something that makes it not really worth doing it. On other days, it's the exact opposite, and you really should do it then. And this is an example of a really nice lab today. And there's a few things that determine whether or not it's a good lab run. And number one is how many dark shrines and gauntlets that's on the main path on your way to Isaro. And in this case, we can see we have 1 here. We have Argus here on the main path. That's really nice too. We have a dark shrine here. We have a dark shrine here, a gauntlet here, and a dark shrine and a puzzle. So 3 dark shrines and 3 gauntlets, or a puzzle and 2 gauntlets on the main path together with Argus. And it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then depending on your path, of course, but I would go here, 7, 8. An 8-room run, which is super fast and super efficient. So today is a really good layout for this. Another thing you have to look at, especially if you're starting out and your character is not like super beefy yet, is Isaro and his faces over here, and what weapon he's using. The most dangerous, in my opinion, is when he uses dual swords, because he has that wind attack he charges up, and that hurts a lot. But more importantly, you need to check for which buffs he has that day, because to get extra keys, you have to let him get buffed. You're basically making him harder on purpose to get more reward. if you let him get all the buffs, he will drop extra keys. He will always drop 1 key by default, but let's say we allow him to get idols and gargoyles, then he will drop 2 more keys. And today, idols are super easy. Like, it's just some elemental ground stuff. It's not really, you rarely notice it in my opinion. Gargoyles can be a little dangerous depending on the build you're playing, but when it's only together with idols, it's not really an issue. However, some days there will be gargoyles and essences. Essences deal a ton of damage. Elemental damage is the worst in the lab. Or gargoyles and conduits, or charge disruptors, etc. So it depends on like the combination of buffs that day that determines how hard he is. And if you have a weak character, then maybe that's not the best day for you to do the lab, because it won't be worth the offering to the goddess, because it has a price. And if you can't defeat Isaro with the buffs up, you'll get less keys, and that, you know, gives you less of a payout near the end. So let's do the lab run, and I'm going to talk about it as I'm doing it. I'll show you a full lab run and how I am approaching today's lab layout. And what I will be doing, I'll of course be trying to get the first gauntlet in this zone. I'm hoping for a treasure key. Then we'll go to zone 2, and if I find the silver key on the way, I'll pick it up, because then I will use it to open either the silver key in room 8 or the silver chest in room 9. It depends on whether or not I find it on the way in room 8. But I will skip this gauntlet up here because I don't need what's up here and it doesn't continue. I will skip this dark shrine here for the same reason. We'll do Isaro first phase here, and we'll have him with the idols buff, so we're going to wait for those to proc. I'll show you that. Then we will find Argus and kill him for the extra key. We'll get the dark shrine in this zone. We'll get the dark shrine in this zone. And as I said, maybe we'll, if we find the silver door here, we'll open that. But we'll also definitely look for the gauntlets. Isaro second phase with gargoyles, and here we can just circ him down, and he will then get the buff for the next phase. Then we'll go room 9, and because I want to check out the dark shrine and the puzzle for the extra key, we'll go to room 12 first and then into room 13. You could also just do room 10 and 13, but I've been doing 12 here. And then finally, the final fights. So let's do a full lab run now. So I'll take my offerings to the goddess with me, and we're going to head into the aspirants trial. And I am playing a perma-stun, a stun-lock type of character. It's a juggernaut. I'm using a bright beak and prismatic eclipse to have these quick jumps here, so I can just head through the labyrinth as fast as possible, because I am level 88 on this character and I really don't get a lot of experience in here, so it's not really worth stopping up to kill the monsters in here. I'd always recommend you stop doing that at level 87. That's when it really starts to suck. So 87, before that it can be fine if you farm experience in here too. So room number 1, and we know there is some kind of gauntlet in here. We saw that on the overlay. So now we're going to try and find that, and if you are an experienced lab runner, you sometimes like recognize the areas. And I, for instance, knew that it would be up here, but sometimes it takes you by surprise and, well, it wasn't where you expected it. But the more you run the lab, the better it's going to feel. Ooh, I didn't have my endurance charges up here, and then sometimes it hurts a little. However, with endurance charges, it feels really good. So what we got here, it was a curious lockbox. And those are the most important ones. You can get 2 of these while you check out the gauntlets, and that will give you 2 extra keys. So now you can see we have 1 treasure key already, so we can spend that on the treasure chests in Isaro's room after we've defeated him. So next up, there was nothing more in this zone here, so now we just want to go to the next zone. We saw that on PoE Lab, or the PoE Lab overlay, right? And we also know that it's up here in the corner. So in this zone here, if we pass the silver key, I'll pick it up. If not, I'll pick it up in a later zone. Silver keys in general and silver chests is not something I recommend you spend a lot of time on trying to get, unless it's just straight on the path and easy to get. But it does not feel worth it to specifically go for them, at least not in my experience. However, gauntlets and dark shrines, you should always try and get those as long as they're on the main path. So let's go. And we know the zone or the area to the next level is like in the middle up here. It's probably this one. Yeah, this is the aspirant's trial. So we don't see the silver key on this way. We'll get it later. And now we're going to go in and dance with Exile, and I will be able to perma-stun him. But what we want to do in this case here is that we will... these are the idols. In order to get the extra key, these need to elicit their buff on him, or whatever we want to call it. And in order for them to do that, they have to fully charge up. Once they're fully charged up, we can defeat him. And you can of course start dealing damage now, but I just want to show you this. So this is charged up. Everything has charged up now. That means we can now start fighting him. And as you can see, he's getting buffed here. Or not buffed, but stunned. So pretty smooth here. Time is not to be wasted. That means we got the buff. He will say various phrases depending on how you did there. So in the next zone we know, or this zone here, we know that Argus resides, and we know that there's a dark shrine. So we want to find both here. So let's head out. Go movement mode here. I think there's... I guess it could be Argus up here too. Nope, we have the dark shrine. Excellent. And it's always in here. You click the switch down here. This, if there's a dark shrine, there will always be a switch either here or a switch over here, and then you can enter. Another way to know if there's a dark shrine is that even when you haven't opened the secret door, then on your map, and I'd recommend you use these settings here under your UI, landscape transparency, just have it like slightly above nothing, not all the way down, but just slightly above, because then you can still see the important doors and such. And then your map transparency all the way up here. It makes it much easier to scout out the lab. If you have that, you will always be able to see this room here, for instance, even when it's not opened. So if you run past a room and you don't really know why you can't get in there because you can see it on the map, it's because there's a dark shrine in there, and you need to find the switch to open the door, and it's typically on the wall itself or you know, very nearby. But let's get the dark shrine here, and we got a permanent impenetrable shrine. So that's not really something I'm too interested in. I don't have issues surviving in here. What you really want to get for dark shrines is twice enchanted, and that stacks with the twice enchanted prophecy. So if you get both, you can enchant up to 3 times, which is very, very valuable. Besides that, you really would like to get that extra key drop from Exile, which the dark shrines can provide. And sometimes it will also give you like extra unique from Exile and such. But it's really the extra key, the extra treasure key, and twice enchanted you're going for. But let's continue. We got the dark shrine in the zone now. That means that there's still Argus left. So let's try and see if we can find him. And I guess he's somewhere. He could be... Yeah, I'm actually not too sure. I guess, yeah, he will have to be down here somewhere. And Argus is dangerous. Argus in many cases I find to be more dangerous than Exile. It depends on your build. And in my case, he's actually a good counter against my build because he has unwavering, and unwavering means he can't be stunned. And well, that's kind of the point of my build. However, I'm fairly tanky and it's not an issue. But in the beginning, he was definitely dangerous. So we killed Argus, he dropped another key. So now we have at least guaranteed 2 chests that we can open in the lab. So let's continue to the next zone. So in this zone, we know from the layout we saw that there is a dark shrine in here. We want to get that too. We're hoping for twice enchanted or that extra treasure key. And there's also a silver key in here. So if we see that on the way, we'll grab it and then we will open the silver door in one of the next rooms. So let's head out. And it looks like we have the dark shrine here. And this is what I mean by, if you look at the map overlay, as you can see, like we can't enter anything here, but we can see on the overlay that it's there. So let's click the switch that was hiding there. And for this we got Labyrinth traps are disabled in the Aspirant's Trial. Now that can be nice if you're just going for the ascendancy point, because the traps in there can be dangerous and it makes the fight much more hectic when you have to take those into consideration. For us, it's kinda not the best thing to get because it's, well, it's not gonna give us more profit. So we can see the silver chest in here, or we can get that, and then we can get the silver key for one of the silver chests in the next zone. So pretty good. Now that we have everything that this zone could grant us, so we'll go to the next zone now. Got the dark shrine, we got the silver key, and from the layout we knew that it would be in the right corner. That's the exit should be to take us further on to the plane path that we have. So in this zone here, we know there's an gauntlets, and we would hope for an extra key from that. We would hope for curious lockbox, and we also know there's a silver door here. Now that we have the silver key, well, let's open the silver door, but let's head out and find it first here. And we have the silver key down here, or the silver area. So silver door, we're using our silver key on this. And then down here, the Emperor's Vault is the silver key one. And let's see what it drops. That's a lot of jewels, I guess. What you typically are hoping for, in my opinion, is just currency or the quality gems you sometimes get from it. I think maybe you can get lucky and get divination cards, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen that for a very long time. But we got the silver key now. We still haven't gotten the gauntlet, so we'll go and do that now. And it could look like maybe it's up there, but it could also be further over here. No, it doesn't look like it, so it's most likely over here. Yes, it's down here. Typically when there's levers and such, that's typically because it's surrounded by some kind of, you know, silver key or gauntlets. I don't have my endurance charges up here, so we have to be a little more careful with the traps then. This time around, it was not a curious lockbox. It's a labyrinth trove, and a labyrinth trove is kind of like a, I'm not sure on like what the statistics are or what specifically it can drop compared to other chests, but it feels like a light version of the chests that you can get at the end of the labyrinth, the ones that we're trying to get keys for. So this time around, yeah, it was just a bit of random stuff here. Nothing really that valuable. Had it been a curious lockbox, it would have been very nice for the extra key. That is, however, random, so you never really know. It depends, or it's completely random how they spawn every time in the lab. as either Curious Lockbox or the one we just saw here. But it's not random what zones they're in. You can always count on those, just not necessarily where they are specifically placed in the zone, as or because of random layouts. So we got the silver key or silver chest in here. We got the gauntlet. We know there's nothing else for us here. So we'll continue on to the aspirant's trial now. And then we will deal with Isaro phase 2. And for Isaro phase 2, we're now having the conduits which followed from the next or from the first phase. That's what we allowed. That's what will give us the extra key eventually. And he has the gargoyle buff this time. For gargoyles, we can simply just circ him down. We don't have to let them proc or anything like that. We just want to circ him down here. And we got him there. I wasn't stunning him very well this time. I had to spec out of 1 point stun mastery, which makes a big difference, just to get another jewel before. But otherwise, it's actually fairly reliable stun lock. So in this zone, there is a silver chest, but we do not have the silver key for that. But if we hadn't found the silver chest before on the path, we could have used it here. It's just, again, as I said, be efficient about your pathing. Don't run around and look for too long for something like silver chests. Besides this, there's nothing in this zone that we need, so we will simply just make our way to the next zone, and we knew that was up in the right corner as indicated on the PoE lab overlay. And for some reason you can leap slam through doors. I'm not really sure why, but I don't mind it. And I don't know why I'm killing those, it was just too tempting. It's kind of fun when you're attacking with the Bright Beak, which is, you know, super low damage, but yeah. In this zone we know there's nothing either, but in the next zone there should be a gauntlet and a dark shrine. So we will simply run to the next zone. And it should be up in the right corner too. So most likely up here. Yeah, there we go. And we will then go to the next zone here, and that's where we knew there was a dark shrine and gauntlets. And since we've only found one curious lockbox in here, we have the chance of finding another one. There can always be 2 of them via the gauntlets. And we still haven't gotten a twice enchanted from the dark shrine or an extra key from that. But we can see in here we have the probably the lockbox or the gauntlets. Whoops. No, it's the dark shrine we have in here. Again, you can see a zone here that is not accessible until you click it. Man, this skeleton, what the... So, we got maybe an extra... Yes, Isaro will drop an additional treasure key on death. So that means we now have 2 from... one from Argus and then one from the Curious Lockbox. We have an extra key because we allowed him to have the elemental buff. We have an extra key because we allowed him to have the gargoyle buff. And then once we kill him, he will drop an extra key too. So far so good. If we get really lucky, the gauntlet in this zone here will be a curious lockbox too. And then it will be a highly profitable run, or there's a good chance for it to be. It's always RNG what drops at the end, of course. But the more keys, the higher chance, obviously, of getting something good. So in this case, it's a puzzle, and puzzles is something you kind of get used to. In this case, if you see this puzzle here, the easiest way, you have to open down here and then run up here. Click this, and click this. Click this. This. This and this here. And then it simply opens up in here. I'm not sure, it's not that much of a puzzle, I feel. But still, that's okay. So it was not a curious lockbox this time, it was another labyrinth trove. That means the curious lockbox was in one of the previous zones that wasn't on the path. Probably room, if this was room 1, then it would be here or here, most likely. But still, okay, we'll probably end up having 6 keys, I think. If I counted correctly. So we got the gauntlets. And now... Oh, and the Dark Shrine, and then we'll go to the next zone, the final aspirants trial, and then we're done with the lab in here. And then we can loot. And as you can see, the traps are disabled because of that Dark Shrine we got in here. So if we just quickly get our stuff up and running. There we go. 4 treasure key drops here. One of them is because of the Dark Shrine. The 2 of them is because we allowed him to have the buff. And then there's always the 1 guaranteed that he will drop. So now we're going to go in and we're going to use these keys. And we have 6 keys. That's very good. Sometimes you also get lucky that more keys drop. But this is for the fun part. This is why Uberlab is really, really fun. Because of all the stuff that drops. Ooh. And these are quality 17 gems. That's a nice roll. Decent currency drops, it looks like. Not some good uniques. But still, okay. We got a corrupted 5-link here. Whoa, look at those stats on this 5-link here. What the hell? Really good life roll. And try resist. It's not the best resist rolls, but still, that's a nice 5-link. It is corrupted though, so the colors would have to fit. So what I do in this case here is that I will enchant first, and then normally, as I said, I will go for the helmets and all that stuff. But in my case, I haven't gotten my boots enchanted, so I'm trying to get that first. But if you're doing it for profit, you probably want to, or you want to use it on that helmet. In this case, I'm going boots, but that's because I need the enchant for myself. And that is exactly not what I wanted, so yeah. Still, that's okay. So what we'll do now is that we will open our dump tab. We'll just throw the stuff in here that we got here. And I'll put my currency in here. I'll loot all the stuff here. And the tip here is that instead of clicking it like this, press C on your keyboard. I think that's the default button. It will remove the labels. And then just click it on the ground. It's much, much faster, because if you're trying to do it with the labels, like I am here, for instance, you know, it's moving around and it doesn't always make sense with the way he's moving around for it. So simply click it on the ground, such as this. Was this worth picking up? Nope. And here's the quality 17 gems. So I think we got everything here. Put my currency in here. And then I'm pretty much ready to go again. We'll leave. And so we're almost done, guys. I'm sorry this is a long video, but there's so much to tell and show. But I want to show you what I do with my gems. Let's say you're done with your session, you want to start pricing your items. What I recommend you do is that you use Poe.Trade macro. And when it's opened, it looks like this. This is the UI. And it can help you price items such as uniques, of course. It can show you an item or what they are going for. Rare items, not so much. There is a feature, but I don't use that. But it's kind of nice for checking gems too. What this does when I then use it is that when I click Control D, it will give me a list of the current items for the relevant league that I'm playing in right now. And as you can see, actually, I already have one sale up for this. I'm actually the first person, this is my character, that is selling a quality 17 barrage for 2 chaos. You can see that here. The other ones are selling for like 3, 4, 3. I kind of like underpricing a little so I can just get my sales done. There's no point in holding on to stuff just so you can make sure you got the absolute correct price and such. It's typically better to just sell a little under and be the person who actually sells than having it rot in your inventory because, you know, other people are competing and underpricing too. Lacerate we can check. This is a level 19 Lacerate and it has 17 quality. Now I accidentally put this up for 2 chaos too. I don't want to do that. Something like Lacerate at level 19 with this quality we can probably sell for more, but when it then doesn't show you much information like this, you can click Control Q and it will open the browser and take you to Poe.Trade. Then you'll just go down and it has the info in here. What I will typically do is then I will either reduce the level by 1 or I will reduce the quality a bit. So let's say I reduce the quality down to 14 instead, but keep the level. And we can see this is mine by accident that shows up right now. But we can see a level 19 with 15 quality for 6 chaos. We can see one with 16, level 19 for 8. So this kind of gives us indication that since we have one that's 17 quality and level 19, we can definitely sell that over this guy here who wants 6 chaos for 15 quality. So if I put it up for 6, my item will be the more attractive one and probably the one that will sell if people want a Lacerate gem. So in a case such as that, I would put my, whoops, that was my barrage. I would put my Lacerate up for that. The other gems I have, we have Minion Life. We can check if that's worth anything. 2 to 3 chaos, that's okay. We will pop it in that. I'll do that later. Molten Shell, probably not going to sell for anything. Probably not worth anything. There's a few, actually. Maybe we can sell it for 3. Who knows? I don't think so because they were higher levels. Fortify, level 6 and quality 17. Goes for 4 to 5 chaos. Cool, we can sell this. We'll put it up for 4 here. Actually, let's just put it up for 3 so we can get it sold. Tempest Shield, that's not going to sell. Arctic Breath, probably not. Volatile Death, level 11 and quality 17. There is... Maybe we can sell it for like 2 or 3. And then there's Summon Raging Spirits for 17 quality here. And it's level 2. We can maybe sell that for 2 or 3. So these are the gems here that are not, you know, and what's it called? An obvious sale. They may not sell, and if they're going to sell, it's not going to be for that much. But there's still a chance that they might sell. So what I do with the gems that I don't bother putting up for like small amounts or I'm in doubt of if they're going to sell even. I have this tab here that I have set an exact price on and I've set it to 1 gem cutter. And I'll put all of those gems in there. Normally I actually have it at 2 chaos, but for the sake of the example here, I'll put it for 1 GCP. Because especially in the beginning of a new league, when you are Uberlab farming, you get a lot of gems and a lot of them are not going to sell. So you'll put it in this kind of like this dump tab here. And then when you have a lot of them, you can simply, you know, take them out. And then you can go to the vendor and if you sell enough gems to the vendor so that the total amount of quality, so this is 7 plus 12 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7. So once that reaches 40 or more, the vendor will offer you a gem cutter in return. So even if your gems are not like an apparent sale or obvious sale, you can still get something from it by turning it into the vendor. And that's why when you do Uberlab farming, you end up having a ton of GCPs. And that's kind of nice. That's easy quality for your gems. Or you can sell them for chaos, of course. Now in this case, I'm just going to put them back into my tab here, because there might be some people who actually will want to pay for, let's say, Summon Raging Spirit here for 17 quality, right? And I'm going to set it so that I want 2 chaos for these. And if they don't sell, I'll turn them into GCPs using the vendor. But if somebody wants it, they can buy it for 2 chaos, and then I make a bit of profit on that. Another thing that's helpful for when you want to price items when doing Uberlapping is when you have an item that's been enchanted, to quickly look up the price of an enchanted item to see if it's worth keeping or if you should re-roll it to something else. You can hold down Control, Alt, and D. That brings up the advanced search for the Poe.Trade macro. And the best way, in my opinion, to see if there's anything that is competing against your current item here is to just select the single stat here, because that's what people will be searching for, the enchant itself, not all the other stuff. So increase the earthquake area of effect, you select that for an affix it should search for if there's something similar to this. And then I also recommend that you set the minimum item level to 84, as we talked about earlier, because that's what people want, that's what they want to craft on. Once you've done that, you simply search. You can decide to show offline results too if you want, but for online results, if we search for this, we can see that in Hardcore Abyss right now, there are like, there are 4 items available, and they have 5, 8, 20, and 10 chaos price. The 20 is regrets, and we can see they are 2 weeks old, 1 week old, 2 week, 2 week. That gives us kind of like an indication of that. First of all, the price is not that good, right? If we had to compete with this, we would have to go like 4 chaos, which is not much, right? Not worth it. And it's not something that is in high demand. So in a case such as that, we will simply just re-roll this helmet here. Control, Alt, and D to get that. Now the final thing I want to show you before we end is that to track your progress, a good idea could be to use Currency Cup. I featured this before in another video. And basically what Currency Cup does is that it's an app that accesses your account information. And then you can select some tabs. I can add a report. Let's say I want to track my session currency. How much do I have right now in that tab? Press create report, and it will then fetch it. And based on the currency rates on PoE Ninja, which is very reliable, it will tell you how much value you have currently in that stash. So, and it will update that. If you set it to update automatically, it will tell you, for instance, from when you started to when you ended, how much of a percentage increase you have had in your income today. So it's pretty cool that way. And I've set up one for my normal currency stash. I have one for my essences, because essences, you typically have a hard time, you just throw them in there. You don't really look at what they're worth. But this one will then tell you, for instance, I could sell this here. It goes for 5C, right? But sometimes you're lucky and you don't even realize that you had some essences that just was worth 20 chaos, or you had so many you could sell. And sometimes you find something you can sell. It's a good way to like keep track of what you have and keep track of how much you are increasing if you're having progress with what you're doing. So this was a full lab run, guys. I hope it helped explain some of the things, so it makes a little more sense if you guys are at least new to this. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments section below. I'll link to each of the applications in the description too. Thank you for watching, and bros, do you even nerd?